Okay, so we just had the third anniversary of January 6th, the worst day in history. You know that day when a bunch of middle-aged unarmed people were allegedly trying to overthrow the government of the United States. So 3 years later, people are still making money off of it. The media is still gaslighting the American people, and you have to be gullible as hell to sit here and believe what these people are saying. They're making documentaries on it still years later. You got politicians getting donations off of it, running whole campaigns trying to get elected so they can get some of their corrupt congressional money off of it. And now the cops have found out, hey, look, we can cash in too. So we're going to look at a couple of the Capitol Police, former police, because they realize there's way more money in the grift. So let's take a look at a couple of these guys as they try to cash in on the January 6th hoax. So here's the first guy. This guy here is running for Congress. So let's see what's going on with him.
I told them to just leave the Capitol. And in response, they yelled, "No, man, this is our house. President Trump invited us here. We're here to stop the steal. Joe Biden is not the president. Nobody voted for Joe Biden. I'm a law enforcement officer, and I do my best to keep politics out of my job. But in this circumstance, I responded, well, I voted for Joe Biden. Does my vote not count? Am I nobody?"
Straight out of the email sent to him by a publicist. This guy is completely coached. If this is coming from your heart, these are your legitimate words. Why you have a paper here reading verbatim? Because it's written by a publicist. He's over here trying to run for Congress, trying to enrich himself, trying to get personal gain, talking about, oh, we're here to stop the steal, and I voted for Biden. Does my vote not count? Yeah, it's a straight up grift, man. This guy is just trying to make personal gains off of a hoax.
That prompted a torrent of racial epithets.
That was former Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn testifying before the January 6th Select Committee and speaking plainly about what he went through on January 6th, 2021, 3 years ago today. Ever since, he's been a critical voice in the fight for American democracy, and now he's taking it a step further by running for Congress to represent Maryland's 3rd District. Joining me now in studio is Harry Dunn, former U.S. Capitol Police Officer, congressional candidate in Maryland, and author of Standing My Ground, a Capitol Police Officer's Fight for Accountability and Good Trouble After January 6th.
There it is. He's selling a book. He's running for Congress. Don't look like he missed a meal. He's been eating honey buns and Starbursts ever since this incident, I guess. I guess he hasn't had too many problems afterwards, but selling a book, running from Congress. Like I said, this guy is trying to enrich himself personally, talking about good trouble. So the phrase good trouble originally had good intent. It started during the civil rights era. You have former Congressman John Lewis out there getting in trouble down there, getting arrested, trying to combat real racism back during the civil rights era. So when these black men will get arrested, they get beaten by cops, they called it good trouble because they were fighting for a noble cause. But now, even John Lewis himself, before he passed, that phrase was twisted to mean you're pushing left-wing ideology, and if someone resists your left-wing ideology, that means you're in good trouble. So it's completely lost its meaning.
Very nice to see you again. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. So with that, all those things you just read about me, the things that I am, you left out just public servant. I think that encompasses everything that you just said that I am. Mm-hmm. And I'm just a public servant. That's it.
Well, you're a public servant who's trying to add yet another public servant duty to the roster. Here's a clip from your campaign launch video.
We can't ever let this happen again. And you've heard it from Trump himself. He is hell-bent on finishing.
Did this even happen? So this guy has a campaign commercial trying to show, oh, I was just a cop over here trying to stop people from causing an insurrection. So first of all, this didn't happen. You didn't have a bunch of people going around in the Capitol building holding up these type of flags. You didn't have papers and all this flying on the floor. Look at this. The "Don't Tread on Me" flag. Did it look like this?
fight. So join me.
And here's another thing. This is supposed to be an insurrection, so people going around trashing, they place papers on the floor, waving flag, that's an insurrection? I didn't know you can overthrow a government like that. I thought you had to have military power in order to overthrow a government, but I guess not. The gaslighting continues. Anyway, that's enough of this guy. Let's look at another former cop cashing in on this grift.
But I already had undergone bone fusion surgery on my right foot, and I was just told that I need surgery on my left shoulder. What we were suggested that day was like something from a medieval battle. We fought hand to hand, inch by inch, to prevent an invasion of the capital by a violent mob intent.
Medieval? So you telling me there was an army of armed men and y'all were out there fighting and y'all lost thousands of people? Because that's what it would have looked like in medieval times. Because if my memory serves me correctly, the only person who died was one of the protesters. Ashley Babbitt was killed by one of you cops who got away with it, obviously, because the left has all the institutional power, and the left decided, you know what, we didn't like her. She was a Trump supporter, so you shot her in cold blood unnecessarily, but we're going to let you get away with it. That's what I remember. So what the hell are you talking about over here, talking about this was like a medieval battle?
On subverting our democratic process.
That's right, something from a medieval battle in 2021. Sergeant Aquilino Ganell joins me now. He is the author of the book, American Shield, The Immigrant Sergeant.
Here it is. Another book these guys are cashing in. I just want to know who the hell is buying these books. So someone goes there to the bookstore and buys one of these books and sits there and read it. Believe in this crap. Believe in the grift that these guys at Publicis, the Democrats, push down. I mean, this is just propaganda. These guys are taking their parts and trying to cash in on the grift by helping to push left-wing propaganda, anti-Trump hatred. So they're saying, look, we cash in on anti-Trump hatred. That's what we're going to do.
Who defended democracy. Sergeant Ganell, thank you so much for being here. The president quoted you yesterday in his remarks. You were the Capitol Police officer that he was talking about. We were chatting before we came on air, and I asked you, do the videos still affect you, seeing and watching it? I'm wondering how you're feeling today.
It has moments where I had.
So here he's just going to continue to grift. He's just going to continue to push Democrat talking points because clearly he sat down with MSNBC before this interview and they coached him. They told him the questions. His publicists, they all coached him. Look, the only people who are going to buy this book are left-wing shields, people who sit here and hate Trump so much that they can actually get duped by a grift like this. So we need you to push anti-Trump stuff. We need you to talk about how the mob was trying to kill you and how hurt you are and how some of the officers were killed by the mob. We need you to keep pushing this lie because those people are going to sympathize with you, and a few of these gullible idiots are going to go buy your book. So let's look at the third guy here. This guy again, man. I don't even know this guy's name, but this guy's voice was breaking up when he was talking about the last cop. Like, oh, it was such a tragic day. January 6th was so terrible. So let's see the third cop over here running his grift.
Despite having lived through that harrowing assault and living with the consequences of that trauma, Fanone has not stopped defending our democracy. He has sought to hold those responsible accountable, and he has an urgent message for the American people as the 2024 presidential campaign season gets underway. Fanone told HuffPost, quote, "Ultimately, you, the American voter, will be the last line of defense when it comes to preserving democracy as we know it and ensuring the peaceful transfer of power. And it's that serious." Joining me now in studio is Michael Fanone, former D.C. Metropolitan Police officer, Courage for America council member, and author of Hold the Line.
There it is. Boy, these Capitol Police, man, there's going to be so many books out there. They're going to fill their own bookstore with lies, left-wing ideology, and grift material. But let's continue.
Insurrection and one cop's battle for America's soul. Officer Fanone, I'm going to try to get through this. Thank you for what...
Is this guy crying? Oh man, you talk about fragility. Imagine being this soft.
You did 3 years ago today. Please tell me your thoughts on this third anniversary.
Hey, even he had a clear throat and hesitate because he wanted to laugh too.
We are still in the midst of the same fight that began on January 6th, 2021. And we have a lot at stake in this country. And I think that it deserves every American's attention.
You know, Donald Trump continues to defend the insurrectionists, as he did at a rally in Iowa last night. Listen to this.
Yeah, so we don't really need to listen to anything else that these guys have to say. It just more of the same. They're just pushing the grift. They're just spewing Democrat talking points. Oh, Trump is bad. Trump tried to take over the country with a bunch of unarmed middle-aged people. They're not going to talk about how they themselves, the Capitol Police, opened the door for these people. But they're going to try to push the grift so they can get personal clout, so they can get personal financial gain by selling their books to left-wing voters who believe this nonsense, and by helping organizations like MSNBC get ratings. And we even had one of the cops who died of natural causes after the event. We had his family on there talking about, oh, Trump is bad and all that, because they're also trying to get clout. I don't know if they plan on writing a book on behalf of a dead man, but let's take a look at this.
As he arrived at work 3 years ago, Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick's family says he had a bad feeling.
Oh, absolutely.
He was nervous.
I don't think he knew what was coming, but he knew something was coming.
Shortly after, a mob surrounded the U.S. Capitol.
They went through hell.
Sicknick died the next day of multiple strokes. His family says the attack he and other officers suffered contributed to his death. Say there was election fraud, a claim echoed by the rioters, and he promised to pardon them if he wins a second term.
I don't call them prisoners, I call them hostages. They're hostages.
Again riling the tensions and reopening wounds 3 years later.
Excuse my language, I think it's a bunch of bullshit. They broke the law. They broke several laws. They're on camera doing it. They were convicted in a court and sitting in jail because of it.
So these guys are using a dead relative for clout to help push anti-Trump left-wing ideology. So it's crazy, man. The grift continues. These companies are still making documentaries. People are still trying to push it in their campaigns, talking about, oh, it was such a terrible day, the worst day ever. It was worse than Pearl Harbor. I heard someone say it was worse than 9/11. It's insane what these people would say to push this grift, and people sit here and believe it. So now the cops are sitting here trying to cash in, trying to sell books. Some of them trying to get political gain out of it. So we know they're going to get rich. If this guy's elected to Congress, he's going to get rich as all these other corrupt congressmen do. But let me know what you think about this whole thing. Leave me your thoughts below. Share the video. Thanks for watching.